Okay, hi everyone. I'm so excited because I have someone in the room with me live taking the class behind the screen. So if you see me smiling above the computer, that's why. Um, Welcome. Okay, so we'll get started. If you have something to cover your eyes, certainly would recommend having some nice headphones. As you can see, we'll have some large crystal bowls with us this evening. We'll have the larger gong, and so those can really tend to overwhelm small speakers. So go ahead and grab those, any pillows or blankets. We'll start seated with a brief pranayama and meditation, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the themes that have been coming up in my teaching and in classes this month. But I just give you a few moments to land in the space, grab what you need, and I'll introduce what we're going to do for the meditation and for the sound healing as well. So one thing that I've been super interested in talking about that maybe is helpful to add to your own, what will hopefully be a daily or a more frequent practice with sound and how it can really open up the body, the mind, and spirit in ways we don't anticipate when we maybe go to a sound bath once a month or a couple times a year. And I've been really thinking in particular about sound healing as part of our yogic path. And for those of you that practice yoga or not, we know that we've maybe heard of the Yoga Sutras. And so these are foundational texts of the practice of yoga. And in particular, we have the 8 limbs of yoga. And the 8 limbs are often described as a wheel, all feeding onto one another, but kind of describe the actions that we can take, the changes we can make to our life, our body, to help us achieve yoga, which is the unification or the felt sense of infinity, uniting our body, mind, spirit with however we relate to God, nature, our spiritual beliefs in any way. And so the 8 limbs of yoga, we start with our external ethical commitments. So non-stealing, being a good person, that type of things. We have our internal ethical commitments. So that would be conservation of our energy, our truthfulness, things like this. And then we move into the parts of the 8 limbs of yoga that maybe we're more familiar with, the asana, so our physical practice, our seated practice, our seated meditation. Then we move into our pranayama, so what we'll be working with today, conscious regulation of the breath, of our vital life force energy. After that, we go into pratyahara. So this means the withdrawal of our senses from our outside environment to our inside environment. And then we have dharana and dhyana. And these are really interesting when we work with sound. That's going to be our pointed focus. So when we're in a meditation and our mind locks onto something and we start to feel that maybe similar to the sense of entrainment in sound healing, and our mind starts to relax. And then we open up into meditative absorption. And then the final stage of this would be what we call a samadhi, which is the enlightenment, if you will, or that complete absorption into that feeling of unification. And so where does sound healing come into all of this? I mention this because we can bring sound as really a friend or an ally onto the path of yoga, particularly with pratyahara. So when you are laying on your mat in a few moments' time and meditating with the sound, maybe feel how when you're enveloped with these waves, with these sounds, with the crystal bowls, with the complex harmonics of the gong, it just turns us right back to ourself, turns us into our thoughts, our internal environment. And then there's a moment that we've talked about in the science of sound healing where our brain waves tend to link up with the instruments that we're hearing. And that's called entrainment. So moving from our fast, busy beta waves down into creative alpha waves, and then hopefully, if we can relax enough, into that deep sense of theta, where imagination, where we dance on the threshold between wakefulness and sleep. And interestingly enough, as I have a new baby, I've been thinking a lot about this, that children beneath the age of 6 are really existing a lot in delta waves. So it gives us that wonder where we're free from inhibition, free from the troubles of the world, and we're really relaxed. And so when we go through those brainwave states, we can think about it as marching along on the yogic path, where pratyahara, withdrawing our senses into our internal environment through the vehicle of sound, then we focus on the sound. We're like, okay, we hear this crystal bowl, we hear this gong, and we latch onto it. And then we become absorbed with it, we let go, and then time seems to take on a new construct. And so whether this resonates or not, whether you practice yoga or not, just a new context to start to think about your yoga practice, or if you're interested in it, and how sound is really just kind of like takes our biology, takes our mind, and helps ease us into these states, which can feel maybe unapproachable or kind of far off when we're just sitting down in silent meditation and go, okay, where do I go? So that's all I'll say for that. To start, we're going to do a breath practice to come into the body. So if you're not already, you can sit in a seated posture. If you have a cushion, you can place it underneath the sit bones, placing the hands for now on the knees, and we'll just take a few deep breaths, inhaling deep, maybe bringing the shoulders to the ears. And exhale, roll them down the back. Inhaling up to the ears. And then as you exhale, maybe letting out a little sigh. Good. And do a couple more times just like that. Good. So we'll do a moving meditation, which will be really nice. I'll bring in the sound of the gong in a recording, and then you can follow along. If you'd like to open the eyes just to see our mudra and movement, you're welcome. So we'll bring the elbows into the side of the body with the palms facing up, almost as if you were serving a platter. And then we'll be breathing long, slow, and deep through an O-shaped mouth. So very similar to a Satali breath, but you don't need to try and curl your tongue, just as if you're drinking through a straw. So we'll inhale, bring the arms overhead. And if we're getting fancy and we want to follow, we're going to bring the left palm over the right. So you can see me in the mirror, inhaling through the mouth. Long, slow, and deep. Exhaling through the mouth, we bring the arms back down to their original position. Long, slow exhale out through O-shaped mouth. So drinking and exhaling through a straw. You can go ahead and begin. We'll be here for about 3 to 5 minutes, inhaling gently, smoothly, and rhythmically. Arms overhead, inhale, and then exhale, replace the palms. You can continue at your own pace, but I encourage you to focus on deepening the breath, and we'll be moving with the sound of the gong. It'll be very faint. Exhaling, arms come out. The sound that we want to meditate on right now is the sound of the breath. Coming in and coming out. Coming in and coming out. If you haven't already, you can close down the eyes. And exhaling deep. You don't need to keep the palms in any certain way. We don't need to keep them tight or tense. Just open and receiving, moving the energy up, moving the energy down. into the body, speaking the very present language of sound and physical feeling. Long, slow, and deep. If you're listening to this in the middle of the day or first thing in the morning, sometimes our nervous system isn't quite ready to close the eyes. And that's perfectly okay. You can pick an unmoving spot on the floor in front of you. We call this a drishti, and we let our gaze and our focus melt, soften around this point. I leave you now in silence. Just go into the sound of your breath, the faint sound of the gong, and see which parts of yourself you can tap into, can awaken, and can clarify. Final minute in this meditative movement. Connect with this feeling of dancing, of grace, and just how deep your breath can go. Good. Inhale deep, bring the arms overhead in the same arc position. Hold the breath. And exhale. Bring the arms down, let them fall in the lap. And now keeping the eyes closed if you can. You can find your way down into a resting position, anywhere that's comfortable. If you tend to have low back pain or sensitivity, perhaps you have a bolster or a pillow that you can place underneath the knees. Hopefully something to cover your eyes to invite in a little bit of darkness. And we'll just focus on simplicity this time. Simple, just the bowls and the gong for the next 30 minutes or so. So give yourself this time to process your day. And anytime we're meditating with sound, sometimes things don't go the way we plan. Maybe you have neighbors, dogs, kids. And should anything, even on my end here, come into your sound experience, you just use that as a moment to study our mind, our reaction, and realize it's all okay. We're just being present with sound. Feeling where the sound lands in your body. Just letting yourself drift away for a little while. Take one final round of breath. Inhale deep, feeling the chest, the back of the ribs, push into the ground beneath you, fill it all the way. Sip in a little bit more air if you can, and then exhale out the mouth, release the jaw. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Fill up. Feel your body expand with air. And when you're ready, exhale out through the mouth. Take another deep breath in. And this time, if you haven't, release the jaw, let the lips part, and let out a little sigh. Feel your body and all its contact points on the mat below you, or your bed, or wherever you may be. Allowing yourself to stay in this practice of pratyahar, of drawing your senses to the internal experience, to the vast cosmic landscape in your own mind. And hopefully you have the time and space to remain seated. But if and when you're ready to close the session, you can wiggle the fingers and the toes. Maybe rock the head back and forth. Point and flex the feet. Just gently stretch. Take about a full minute here to move your body if you're ready, and then we'll meet in a seated posture to close the session, close your practice for now. And when you're ready in a seated position, rubbing the palms together, and then bringing them into Anjali Mudra, prayer mudra at the heart, pressing the fingertips in together intentionally. Maybe we do this every day, just finding a sense of newness with it. The thumbs are together and pressing into the sternum, searching for your heartbeat. Elbows are parallel to the ground, shoulders relaxed. You can find a gentle neck lock, our Jalandhar Bandh, retracting the neck ever so slightly, retracting the cervical spine, gentle tuck of the chin towards the clavicle, towards the neck bone, close down the eyes. Feeling a sense of gratitude for your body, for your precious human life. And it's my prayer that the sound and the many, many practices of the world of yoga and Kriya can help serve you on the path back to yourself. We'll close with a deep round of breath, inhaling through the nose, holding the breath at the top, and exhale. Thank you so much for joining, for Callie, who's in the room with me, and for anyone watching this on replay. We've been doing these live sessions now since February, and I'm hoping that they're a place that you can ground, explore maybe some new thoughts, some new lenses to view your practice, and hopefully deepen your relationship with sound and train your body and mind to have a relationship with sound, so that every time we sit down with these incredible, weird, beautiful instruments, that it takes us to a new place and we learn to ride these waves and can use it as an exploration of self-inquiry and self-study and hopefully deep, deep relaxation. So we'll see you next month, probably somewhere around the 18th of September already. And then if you're watching this on the replay, I wish you a beautiful evening or morning or day. And then for those of you watching live, I would love to connect for a moment. If you want to put in the chat where you're calling in from, how the sound was for you. We have a bigger gong, same speakers. So if you have any feedback as well for how the sound was received on your end, I'd be really grateful, so I can keep making it better for everyone in the future. But if you're ready to leave, I wish you a great night, great morning, and see you soon. Hi, Cam. All right, everyone, have a great evening, and I see you soon.